Okay, so our presentation was basically playing pickup basketball at different places in New York and looking at the differences in the course, differences in the people there, differences in the skill level, and seeing basically the idea of it was seeing how if we would be different people and players if we grew up in a different neighborhood playing at a different park. Because we played most of our pickup basketball either in gyms like the Dalton gym or at parks like Central Park and Carl Schurz Park. And that's a very different experience than different courts is what we learned. Our faculty advisor was Teddy Frischling, couldn't make it today, but we wanted to give him a shout out. He was really helpful with everything. Yeah, so our first park, can you flip it? So our first park was Central Park. The Great Lawn's a very famous place to play basketball, although the quality of players is normally pretty low, to be honest. One of the reasons why is that during the day, a lot of schools bring their kids to the park. This is one of our coaches, Keith, who worked at St. David's, who's bringing a bunch of middle schoolers from St. David's to the park to play basketball, play around the Great Lawn. So what ends up happening is that there's always tons and tons of kids there, but in reality, they're not really that talented kids. So the quality of games isn't that good. Is it broken? Damn it, that's bad. Is my computer? My computer broken?
Click the thing on the bottom.
Sorry.
Hit play, baby. Oh. Click again.
There we go. Okay. There you go. Yeah.
That's another one of our coaches.
Yeah. So when we got there, there were kids from schools playing in the park, but there weren't actually games going on. So we kind of ended up playing 2-on-2. Here's another person we know playing with his kids. That's a different school. And yeah, we actually went back there a couple days ago. The game quality is a little better, but it's not really the kind of thing you think about when you think about inner city pickup basketball. It was really just kids kind of messing around playing.
Yeah. And so maybe the best court we went to, the Cage on West 4th Street. It's a very well-known court. It's really small. NBA players play there a lot. Actually, the day after we went, Brandon Jennings, who plays for the Wizards, he was at the court, and so there's a huge crowd. And so the Cage it's a very small basketball court, and so that leads to a lot of physical play. That's why it's called the Cage. And so I'm bleeding there. I got hit in the nose after nice defensive play by me. Yeah, and so you can see, I don't know if you can tell, but the court is very small, but we were there for probably 3 hours, and yeah, this is probably our best court that we played at, I'd say. Of course.
Yeah, and then something that isn't captured in the photos we took, but it's all chain link fence, and if you on this side of this photo, there's a subway stop, and so as you're playing, people coming out of the subway, going to work or doing their daily business, will stop by and actually watch your games. We took this picture from that spot. So in our last game we played, there's a bunch of people on the other side of the fence, but then there's also probably up to 80 people stop by.
Yeah, there are a lot of people watching us.
And one of us would make a good move, and everyone would be like, "Oh my God, white boys got game, whatever." and that was pretty awesome. And that's something that we've never felt like playing in Central Park in particular.
In terms of the most storied basketball parks in New York City, Holcomb Rucker Park is definitely one of the most famous basketball pickup spots in probably the country. Holcomb Rucker Park was created in about, I think, 1940 with this guy Holcomb Rucker, who he saw problems in his community, so he thought that basketball would be one of the ways to fix it, and so he founded this tournament, the Rucker Tournament, and so every summer they hold this tournament, and so all the proceeds and all the funds go to putting kids from the neighborhood through college and through school. So Holcomb Rucker with this park was it's more of a community center, and so unlike maybe Central Park or the Cage, this was more a place for people around the neighborhood to congregate and less of a spot to sort of maybe get a great pickup game going, even though there are some NBA players play here all the time over the summer. KD in one of the most impressive performances had about 50 points. 63 points in this game. So the competition is also there at this park, but this park is more based around the community activism. And so
Talk about the candles.
Oh, and these candles, this is for, there's a man who passed away, he was a co-founder of the tournament, and so he passed away, I think, probably 2 weeks ago. And so people around the neighborhood. While we were there were actually people bringing candles and vigils to Rucker Park to sort of remember him and remember what he did for the community. So it's a good park.
The furthest we ventured was to Brooklyn Bridge Park. This was it was by far kind of the prettiest park, and it had the most courts of any place we went. And it was kind of an interesting thing to see because it was the only place we went that had multiple courts that we actually played on. And so on each court, there's kind of a different kind of game going on. On one court, it was almost like a camp type thing where kids were wearing pennies, and it was like a instructional type scrimmage. And then on the nearest court to that, there's kind of a very, very serious game going on. And then we picked the third court, and when we first got there, it kind of, they were playing a half-court game, and there were kind of a lot of people around, and there's kind of a large community center. There was a roller rink, there's different piers where different things kind of happen. And we kind of saw as we were playing that people would kind of just stop by the park and just kind of play, even if they weren't even wearing the correct clothing or things like that. Like 2 of the kids we were playing with were wearing jeans as we were playing with them. And also, I would say probably had like the largest kind of diversity in terms of ethnicities, in terms of kind of ages, anywhere we went. Like as you can see there, we didn't get that many pictures of us playing because we were kind of playing the most kind of part of the time that we were there. But it's really pretty. It's right on the water.
It's probably the nicest courts we played at.
Yeah, it was kind of a great way to like bring the community together, and I think we saw that kind of there better than any other park we went to in terms of the amount of people that actually went there for kind of the basketball. So.
Yeah. That kind of
So this is Happy Warrior Playground, and I heard about it from my father, who's on his way. And unfortunately, the gate was closed. There's no entry, and so that was kind of the closest we got. It is attached to a school though, so you can see kids playing on it. So we weren't allowed in because it's just for school. But I'd heard about the court. It looked nice from afar, and we'll sure be back.
This is Carl Schurz Park. This is probably one of the most well-known parks in this area, just because it's sort of, when you're a kid, this is the park that everyone goes to. I know after school when I was in 6th grade, this would be like the main hangout spot, and I think that Carl Schurz Park does its job well of being that for the kids in this area. I know most of the kids that are there, they're not there looking to play a serious game of basketball or sort of like get their legs moving. They're sort of just there to hang out with their friends. And so when we went to Carl Schurz Park, we probably went at noon, and there was nobody there except this kid named Jackson, who was about 2 years old, playing basketball.
He's
so,
3.
He's 3?
He's 3.
Do you know him?
I do.
Jackson was there working on a shot, and so when we went to Carl Schurz Park, it was clear that the park wasn't there as I guess just like the cage as specifically a basketball park, but it was more a place for the community to sort of get and interact with each other. And so Carl Schurz Park was maybe not the best basketball, but I think as a congregation ground, it was a pretty good park.
Yeah. We also saw a dribble basketball there, which made us particularly happy because Teddy's the owner of dribble.
This slide was more for Teddy when he was watching.
He wasn't watching.
But like his reign is expanding, which is exciting.
Also, I would add we've been city biking a lot recently, and and as we passed it, we were bike riding Randall's Island. As we passed it, kind of later in the day, we kind of went earlier. It was like 11 or so, I guess, first time we went. As we passed kind of later in the day, they were kind of using it for a lot of different things. Like they're playing like roller hockey there, and like it was way more busy. It was more than 6 people than when we went. So I think it also just depends on the time of day in terms of the basketball. Can you go back to Happy Warriors live?
This is how I like to make an entrance.
We went to Asphalt Green as well. This is kind of probably like the most well-known park in terms of the Dalton area. This is Ben's home court. When we went, there actually was a camp going on. There was a coach who we kind of spoke with. It was kind of good to see, honestly, that people kind of use courts. Like, I don't even know if they were Asphalt Green affiliated, but that people are kind of like using the courts to actually teach basketball. And that kind of, there's actually like developmental things going on as we kind of see in like pickup basketball. Some of the players will kind of have like different skills and kind of different things, but sometimes it's kind of the variation of like actual skill and actual like teamwork and stuff like that can be kind of wide. So it's kind of nice to see that like people are actually using the courts to kind of teach like legitimate basketball of how it's supposed to be played. So that's kind of one thing we noticed.
Yeah. And the last couple days, we were doing the initiative. We wanted to make sure that we got to as many parks as possible. So this was one of the parks that we got to, we didn't necessarily play. We didn't necessarily play that. This is a picture from a bench. We saw this park a lot of. It was not what we were hoping when we got there. It was honestly like mostly used for like slightly older women and men who were just kind of like hanging out, doing their thing, walking their dogs. Which is kind of a letdown. That wasn't really what we were expecting. But
Talk about the MTA.
what?
Talk about the MTA.
What do you mean?
Public transportation.
Oh yeah. Wait, did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so kind of one underrated thing that we didn't really appreciate that kind of happened on this is we kind of got a better grasp of the public transportation system around New York. We kind of expanded our subway knowledge. And from this park, we did a race.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun actually.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Ben and I subwayed around the park down to 34th, back up to Dalton, and they just took the crosstown bus at 96, and we raced, and they beat us by 35 minutes. So
Yeah.
it was close.
we were betting against traffic. And, yeah, click it. And so this is a picture.
We went to Southampton and played too.
Yeah, this is a picture that we took. Oh, little,
That's
Josie actually took it.
watermelon.
Yeah.
Watermelon?
Thank you.
Is that a
That's
bad
it.
court?
No.
No.